It's that time. Welcome to our first podcast, sponsored by the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence. Today's subject is finding good technicians, and I think we're also talking about service advisors or other staff. And we have a few shop owners on our panel that have had some success doing that and hopefully have some secrets to share with us. First, we have Kim Auernheimer. And if I mess up, Alan, if I mess up your name, last name, just ignore it. You can get me later. Kim and her husband, Rob, own co-owners of a 10-bay shop in Cool Springs or Brentwood, Tennessee, called CS Automotive. Kim plays the role of business manager there. She continually seeks out training for herself and her team and puts the teachings to good use. Her belief in industry education has been a large influence over the growth and success of her business. She has a passion to improve the reputation of the industry and works alongside with other shop owners and industry leaders to improve the overall experience of the customer from the moment they walk in the door till the moment they leave the business. Welcome, Kim. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks for participating. We have Alan Symmes. Alan owns and operates Revolution Automotive Service. It's a growing business in Norwood, Massachusetts. So if he sounds a little funny, he's from Massachusetts. We got to give him a little slack. Alan's very driven, works very hard to improve his business. He's actually remodeled his business, provides the most current tools and education to his staff, and has done some other interesting things to attract good people. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have Seth Thoson. He's has a European specialty shop in Minnesota. He also is a top BMW trainer and embraces technicians networking. So he works a lot with that. Seth has specialized in European automobiles since 2001. He is a BMW trained technician, also owns a nationwide BMW technical support service called LMV Bavarian. He has people all over the world that use him for technical support for BMWs. And he works very hard also to improve the industry. So welcome, Seth.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So today we're going to talk about bringing in or trying to find and trying to hire good staff. I think techs is kind of the issue, but also service advisors. I'd like to break this into maybe three categories. And so what I'd like to start with is, number one, what do we think has caused the problem? Or is there a problem? I mean, are there truly lots of technicians out there that we could get if we just looked in the right places? Or is there a lack of qualified people in our industry? Number two, what can we do as an industry or as individuals to turn the tide on that if there is a problem? And number three, what have you done specifically in your business to find and attract good people? So we'll start with the question, what has caused the problem, if there is a problem? Seth, what do you think? Is there a problem in the industry?
There's a problem with finding qualified techs. There's no problem with finding people that think they can work on cars. What's caused the problem? Some is we're losing high school programs or losing college programs. There's not good training going on to get them in an industry. And I've seen a lot where we get them in and we don't want to pay them appropriately for the equipment that they have to buy to get into the industry. And then they exit faster than we can get them up to train. I take my brother as an engineer. They overpaid him for 3 or 4 years till he remotely became productive as an engineer. And most industries are willing to do it. For some reason, we are not.
Do you think, just a side question there, do you think that is because we don't have the money to do that, to support somebody for 2 or 3 years while we're building them into a good technician?
Some of it's probably money. Some of it's probably we don't want to give the patience. We want them to come in and produce right away, and we're not happy that they can only produce 15 to 20 build hours, if that, as they're learning.
Okay. Kim, what do you think about the problem? Is Seth right on? Or?
I think Seth's right on in many points. I think the definitely losing the technical training that used to be available in the high schools more readily, as well as the 2-year colleges. In the area that I happen to live and operate the business, there is a big push for college education. So My experience is that everybody feels like they have to have a 4-year degree. They get into school, they get frustrated, and then they're straggling. And I may get shot for this, but I think a lot of it is for new technicians, it is a millennial issue. Instant gratification. They want to make good money right off the bat. So 4-year degree, they're going to make, they think they're going to be walking out making, 40, 50, 60, 100, and $120,000 a year. And they want that same walking in as a technician. So I think that has a lot to do with it, is the education. I think also the damage that has been done to the image of or the reputation of the industry itself over the years has also played a factor.
So if I understand you correctly, you think part of it is the lack of education, the programs that have disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
You would also push part of this on the millennial issue, or at least how us older people seem to see. They want to reach the same places we've reached that took me 27 years, but they want to do it in 6 months.
Correct.
And then also, here we go, the white hair, this is what happens. There was one more thing. What was the third thing?
Kind of the reputation of the industry itself.
Yeah. It's not a glorious place to be or work. So, if I came home and I told my parents, I'm going to be a doctor, yay! Oh my gosh, you're going to be a doctor, or I'm going to go to college and get an econ degree. Oh, great, you'll be a business person. But if I tell my parents, hey, I'm going to be a technician or a mechanic, then it's like, oh, really? Do you really want to do that? So, yeah, I can see that. Alan, what do you think?
I agree with that. And there's a lot of different factors that play into it, and you touched on a lot of them here. But I think that the industry is probably going to have a turnaround on that topic as far as its gloriousness, because although it's still more socially acceptable to be a doctor or an attorney or something to that effect, rather than automotive technician, I think that cars are evolving so quickly nowadays that you really have to be smart and well educated in order to work on these cars that are coming out of the factories now. And and if you go to work at a reputable place that has a nice facility and can be appealing to an individual to come work and spend 40 hours of their week, I think that's going to appeal more, because you're not coming out of a 4-year Ivy League college with $200,000 in debt. You're coming into an industry where you can make a decent living a lot quicker than some of those people, I think. But I do recognize that the stigma has been the opposite to this point. I think it's changing though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
that's what I see.
Do you think that's going to cause additional problems though? Because, going back, my father was a technician. I was a technician. I don't know that I have the mental wherewithal today to deal with the computers and all the other things. And I think it might maybe even drives half of the people that we have right out of our industry. The more sophisticated the cars become, actually it might dry up the people or the possibilities. Kim, I see you shaking your head. What are your comments on that?
No, I definitely agree. I think that as we improve our reputation and I learned, we're the car doctor from you, Cecil, that, once we educate the public as a whole, that a vehicle is really one of the most complex, machines out there that are driving people's families safely, hopefully, and getting people where they need to get, and et cetera, and all the computer components and such. And I think that's what's going to happen is and I'm hoping that change of educating the public with the whole telematics that's coming out and all that, educating the public that it is a very, very intricate and incredible piece of machine, and it's going to take a special person with the abilities to do that. I think it's going to definitely, I agree with Alan as well. It's going to change over time, in my opinion.
Okay, so Seth, you said that there's a lot of people out there that would like to come to work. I know that when shops run ads, we get you might say I need 7 years experience or even 3. and you get a lot of people responding who have no experience, but they used to work on their lawnmower or something. Do you think that as we get more technologically advanced, which is just unbelievable how fast that's increasing, do you think that's going to limit the workforce even further?
I think it will limit the workforce. As these cars get more advanced, people definitely can't just say they worked on cars 10 years ago and come fix it. They can be a lube tech, and you can tell them that you're going to bring them in as entry level and you're going to train them, but that process is going to take a couple years and they may not be happy with that position. So there is a definite issue with you need people that have taken some formal training, had some formal electrical training, computer training, math and science to fix these cars.
Have you had issues? I know working with the shops that I work with all across the country in Canada, have you had issues with technicians who are losing their skills? An older guy maybe who hasn't learned what he needs to go ahead and be a good diag guy. Now he used to be maybe an A tech. Now he's a B tech or a C tech because the skill set is not there.
I haven't seen that, but we train our guys pretty well and we stay up to date on their training. I know Alan would definitely agree because he sends his guys over to some of our classes and World Pack classes and any class that he can get his hands on. I think that keeping the guys updated. Our shop foreman leads many monthly technical meetings, and the ball gets passed essentially. Every tech is responsible for a 10-minute topic every Monday morning.
Wow.
So.
What's the average age of your workforce, Seth?
Oh, mine's all under 35, well under 35.
So you have all young people. Alan, what's the average age of your workforce?
Both my guys in the shop are 26. I'm 36.
Okay, pretty young. Kim, what's the average age of your workforce?
I actually have, I have a 20-year-old, I have a 25-year-old, a 34-year-old, and a 52-year-old.
Okay. How's the 52-year-old doing? Is he keeping up with things?
You know, he does. I do find it interesting. Physically, obviously, it's a lot more challenging for him. That has been a problem. He's a little slower on the he questions himself more on the diagnostics because because of the advancement. But he's a great diagnostic tech, and he can do heavy line work any day of the week. Amazing. But it is, for him, it's more the physical, but I think he does start to second guess himself on some of the diagnostics when it comes to emissions and such, because it's changing all the time.
Do you think that we as an industry are paying well enough to attract upper end people that are going to be able to work on the cars in general? I mean, maybe you are, but okay, so Kim says no. Alan, what do you say?
At most shops, no. The top shops, yes.
Okay.
I think that a good shop creates a package and creates a venue that is appealing to a person to work in, and creates a package that's appealing to the employee. Okay.
And all right, we'll talk about that. Let's table that for a second. We'll talk about that in the second part of this. Seth, do you think that the industry has enough to offer today as an industry to attract these people?
I think it's getting there. I think in the last couple of years, especially in Minnesota where I am, you've seen an increase in wages for almost all technicians, just from what I've seen in recruitment and talking to other techs. But it's getting there, but it still has a way to go.
Okay, so let's kind of morph here a little bit, and let's go to the second part of the question, and that kind of is, what can we do as shops and as an industry to turn the tide, to try to find and attract these people? Why don't we start with Alan?
So, like I said, creating an environment that people want to work in. And I just had lunch with my staff. One's on vacation, but just before this webinar, and I asked them what's appealing to them. And, they like that it's neat, it's clean, the place has a vision, it's going somewhere. And the compensation's it's good, but that's not the number one thing. They want to have benefits. They want to come to a place where they don't feel pressured and under the gun all the time, someone looking over their shoulder. And they want to they want to have the tools and the equipment and the training they need to be able to do their job properly and efficiently. And we offer that here. So we were able to attract some good people by having all that to offer.
So we have a problem, I think. You said I want to work somewhere where I don't have someone looking over my shoulder all the time. That's probably two different things that we're talking about there. One, someone going, hey, that car needs to be done, get it done, kind of mentality. And the other would be maybe an owner who was a tech who is second guessing the technician, right?
And that would be what I'm meaning, is like an owner looking over the technician's shoulder all the time and not giving them the freedom, or the employee, whatever they may be, advisor, technician, the freedom to do their job well. Let's just give them guidelines and allow them to do it well,
so
rather than watch over them.
Now we could get into systems and processes, which we won't do that here, and management, which we also won't. We'll stay away from that. That's for another podcast later on. Kim, what do you think we can do as an industry or as individual shop owners to provide that environment?
I think as an individual shop, you have to have a good culture. You have to have a good working condition, a clean shop. And I think all that kind of sums up to a reputation, having a reputation within the local industry, with your tool suppliers, your parts drivers, all that is having that reputation of, when a delivery driver comes in or when a tool guy comes in, you're just as happy to see them as a customer, because who's talking when somebody is not happy at their current location. Who are they talking to? They're talking to the people that are walking in, the parts guys, tool guys, and such. So that as building a reputation for your own individual shop, I think is key. As an industry, I think it definitely goes back into educating the public on, that it's not the whole shade tree mechanic, and that's going by the wayside. And I was trying to find that the survey right before or earlier this morning is how many shops are closing up. Cecil, you probably know this. How many shops have closed or are going to be closing? So the cream of the crop, the best of the best, is what's going to stay. And I think for us, we started attracting and retaining. We have just one revolving door with one revolving bay, but the three other techs have really, they're committed for a lifetime with us because of the culture, having a vision, and one starting to work with Cecil, knowing how to run the business and how to move forward and how to have the systems and processes and et cetera, et cetera. I think that gives them the comfort that this is what they want to do and where they want to, and that does get out. It gets out.
So it's kind of it's kind of we're building this culture, a long time career, so they can see a future for themselves. They work in a nice, clean place. They get treated well, trusted. They have good benefits, etc. Mm-hmm. Seth, the statistical data, it's funny because I was in a meeting on the 13th, 2 days ago, in Eurotech headquarters in New Jersey, and they said they have lost just an unbelievable amount of shops this year. They're just gone, closed up. And then there was a statistic out last year, or the beginning of this year, that said that 58% of the shops and shop owners want out of the business. They're working too hard. They're not making enough money. It just isn't worth it anymore to them. And I would tell you that I run into people all the time that are, 60, 64, 65. They've been just busting their hump for a long time. So, yeah, I think we're going to see this huge metamorphosis in our industry, where the shops that are well prepared, that are making money, that have younger employee bases are going to, really move forward, and the other guys are going to drop off. I think that's coming. And by the way, it's already here. We're already seeing that happen. Seth, what do you think we could do as an industry to attract these young people, these good people into our industry?
So, I mean, what I'm doing a lot of, we've gone to company provide toolboxes. We don't have toolboxes in the shop anymore. No tech supply toolboxes. We supply all the boxes. I supply all the tools to our apprentices coming in until they prove that this is the field for them, and then they go purchase tools to fill our boxes. So I have an inventoried set of tools for apprentices. We bring in a lot of young people. They seem to really like the air conditioning. I have a lot of techs that won't leave because my shop's air conditioned. But the big toolboxes, they like it. They like having the company providing the box. It's less cost to them. It's a better benefit. We provide really high benefits for guys coming in. We went to 70% medical and dental, and there's a whole nother long discussion of how I did that. It's a very different way to do it, but we came up with a very creative way to do 70% medical and dental. But it starts with the high schools. So I've reached out constantly, and I challenge everybody listening to this, everybody on the panel, reach out to your high schools. There's 2 high school programs left within a 20-mile radius of me. And they were absolutely floored when I reached out to them. One of them goes, "We don't have scan tools. We don't have tire machines. We don't have anything to teach these guys." I said, "Okay." So I went over to the high school 2 days ago and dropped off a $10,000 scan tool I got donated through trade associations. I'm working on tire machines. I got a lift guy out there. Support your high schools. Get out there. You'd be surprised what they need. Call them.
But I think, okay, so you have a long-term strategy, and I don't think that most shop owners have a long-term strategy. I mean, you're working with high school kids, and then you're going to bring them in under an apprenticeship program, and you understand that you're probably going to go through 4 or 5 or maybe 6 of these kids before you find one that really wants to be aware of this. So for you, that's a very long-term strategy. But I think much like the millennials, most shop owners, they want that top tech today. They want that guy. They want to go out and find that guy and get him in their shop pumping out 50 hours a week. So I think the long-term strategy is great. I mean, obviously, when we're talking about industry and what we need to be doing, the high schools, we got to get involved with the educational programs. But I think more than that, we need mentorship programs for our people. Kim, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm just thinking, we're talking about young people, but there's also a pool out there of technicians that have been technicians for 10, 15, 20 years, work in the dealership and such. And they, the pay plans that most of your clients have instilled are scary to those flat rate techs. But I think once that gets changed for the current, I think that's going to make a big difference for those technicians that are currently already working and moving forward. But I love what Seth's saying is I do have 2 very young technicians that we are growing I couldn't find them, so we're growing them. And I think that's key, is finding out if they have the aptitude and the attitude to do the job, bringing them in, giving them the tools that they need to excel. I had one of our technicians, I had to actually tell him, stop buying tools. We don't even know if this is what you should be doing yet. No. And, it was more about buying the tools than it was about learning the job. And so that, that being said, I think it's, Seth, you're spot on. Go out there. If we can't find them, we're going to grow them. So start with the high schools, find out what they need. There is a high school program in the Nashville area that we have spoken to, and I give great kudos to Bridgestone. Their headquarters is down the street from us, but they've got it taken, and they won't let an independent shop come in and help out. However, that doesn't mean I don't knock on and call and see if there's anything that I can do to help them or anything that that they need. But there are large corporations that are being smart and moving forward to do that. So Seth, you're spot on. But I think as far as the technicians that are currently in the place, they need to know that their value is not about the flat rate. And so many guys work on the whole flat rate focus and just think they have to turn and churn, and really it's about quality, and so I think that the pay plan is going to make a big difference over time as they start being brought into more shops.
So let's just clarify on pay plans. Flat rate is paid for the hour, what you do, what you perform, piecework. So if I do a job and it's a 3-hour job, I get paid 3 hours for doing that job because the customer got charged 3 hours, hopefully. Then we have hourly, where I have an hourly rate that I make for being on the time clock. And then we have blended plans that kind of take advantage of both in different ways, have a good base, but then have an additional increase for performance and for some other things like education and training. And that's the kind of that I would be talking about with a shop owner, would be the blended stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you have blended in your shop, correct, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. And Seth, you have a blended pay plan in your shop?
Yep, I have a blended pay plan.
Okay. And Alan, you also, correct?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
All right. And so it's funny too, when you talk to these technicians, when you go into the shops and you say, hey, tell me about this place. How do you feel about the place? Do you feel empowered? You use different things. A lot of the technicians don't feel like the shop cares much about them. They don't feel appreciated. That's the word that I hear over and over and over again. So Alan, how do you build a culture of appreciation in your shop for the people that you have?
Well, I stay in constant contact with them. We have a weekly meeting, and everybody likes to attend because at the end of the meeting, we all get a paycheck. Well, and so it gets everybody there. But I stay in contact with them, and I ask them their opinions on things and how things are going. We're constantly evaluating our process, and our inspections actually is one of the things we're really hot on right now. And just getting their feedback and then often implementing things that they see that could work better, because the more efficient we can be, the more money they can make based on their pay plan, So I think that just asking questions and showing interest in their thoughts and concerns on things kind of empowers them, right?
Okay. Seth, how do you create a culture of appreciation for your staff?
Some of the simple things like I mentioned before, providing the toolboxes for them, providing air conditioning, providing a work environment that no other employer will give them. It starts with the cleanup guy that cleans their bay, so they go on a test drive and they come back to a clean bay and they can concentrate on doing what they do best. And it goes, like Alan said, go out there, talk to them. I walk around the shop 3 times a day. Hey, are you stuck on anything? Any problems? Do you need any help with this? What's going on? Well, the service writer's doing this. Okay, well, let's bring this up in the next meeting. And just going back and meeting with them and making sure they understand that, you care what they have to say and you care what they're doing.
Are you making, you said you're paying 70% of the medical, which I'm going to have to talk to you about how you're doing that.
It cost me no more than it did before. So I got a plan.
We'll bring that up here in a moment. But, you're providing toolboxes, you're communicating, you're providing an environment where they can be successful. And when they get in a position that they have difficulty, you or someone else is there to help them out of that position.
Correct.
And there's also a lot of shop owners are babysitters. They're in there too much. They're watching over their shoulder too much. And I think Alan kind of mentioned, that's not what the tech wants. What's the difference between being that micromanager looking over their shoulder and being there to help them? Kim, what do you think that difference is?
Well, I think empowerment is number one, and we're going to touch back on having the systems and processes set in place so that everybody can do their job without having to be told, redirected all the time, because it's pretty clear. So I think that gives the employee empowerment and goals, being goal driven. One of the big things we always, we're a CS Automotive family. We are a very tight knit. We do meet weekly. We meet with the staff weekly. We meet with the management on Mondays. We always over lunch. We always allow time for a little frivolity and fun. It's not a bad place to do and come lunch with everybody. But then it gets down to the business. But I think having being able to, having the system set in place, and not that keeps us from having to micromanage, and we have a history of that here. There was a history of micromanaging, and having those systems in place allows the micromanager to only see that there's an issue if there's a problem. And then we go back. If there's a problem that happens once, if there's a problem that happens twice, by the third time, there's probably a problem with the system more so than the person. So we're going to rewrite and we're going to work together and redevelop that system in order to get moving forward again. But I think that really creates a safety, for everybody to know once they know what their job is and what they're expected of them and what they're supposed, there's a safety net there and a comfort, and it makes their job a lot easier and more enjoyable.
All right. For those that are online listening to us right now on Facebook or either on the webinar podcast, we are going to get to some of the marketing things, but I'm going to hold off another about 5 or 10 minutes on that because I want to kind of keep you for the rest of the time interested, but also I want to cover this idea of creating an environment where the employees that you do have can be successful. I think a lot of the employees that I talk to who are not successful blame a lot of things, and most of them are very valid. So I can't do the job because the service advisor is not selling the work in a timely fashion, or we can't get the parts we need in a timely fashion, or they're not selling work at all. I mean, there's I don't get things dispatched to me in a timely way. All kinds of problems with systems and processes. Alan, are you guys process focused?
Yes. Yeah, and it's been a struggle getting there because it was when I first started this business, it was just me, so I did everything, And then as I started to hire more and more people, it was a painful growth, but a necessary one. But we are process focused, and now, in 2017, really implemented a lot of these things with guidance from my superb business coach, It makes things better. Everybody people know what's going to happen. When there's a situation or whatever it is, they know what to do. People know where to go, where to turn. They can look at it. We're a digital shop, so all our work orders are on a network of tablets and things, and they can look on there and see what's going on with anything at any time. And I think that it makes everyone feel more comfortable. Knowing what's going on definitely makes me feel more comfortable because I can come in, grab a tablet, and I know what's going on in the shop now. I don't have to ask questions. And without a doubt, fewer mistakes. And mistakes are costly because we sell time here. And when we're wasting time, we're wasting money. And the technicians don't like that because of their pay plans. They get paid based on what they produce. And the more they produce, the more they make. And the more they make, the happier they are.
So let me
processes make it easier.
Let me ask another question. I think because I think that this idea of creating the right team that works well together, having people that can do their jobs, either because they're just great and talented, or probably more likely because they're great and talented and they were taught what the job is and what the system of the process is, and somewhat held accountable at least for doing it the way that it should be done. Is a good service advisor someone that can build value for the customers and the employees and sell work in a timely way? Is that necessary to have a successful team in the back of the shop?
Well, yeah, because if you're giving,
yes,
yeah, definitely.
Like a no-brainer.
I would say for sure because you go back to football, right? I mean, the Patriots win every year because they have a good playbook, not because they have better personnel. Yeah, there you go, Alan, just for you. But I mean, they win every year. They don't have better personnel. They've taken the same recycled personnel and they keep winning. But it's the systems and processes that create the playbook. I changed managers and we didn't experience a drop off. In fact, sales went up. But I empower our managers to do what they need. He has a company credit card and he sends me a text one day, dude, we're swamped. My guys are in back working hard. He goes, I'm buying lunch for him with the company credit card. Great. Have at it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I get a bill for $100. So I go, what'd you buy? They barbecue. They ate like kings and they got $10,000 done or whatever it was. So it's like, go for it. But he knows he has the authorization to go do that to help his guys in back. And so they work together.
It is interesting talking the football analogy because, if we have a good playbook and a good coach, then we need talented people, but they don't have to be the best, all the best. They have to be just talented people. And if we have a good playbook and a good coach, then we're probably going to win. Now, what does a good coach do? Is a good coach in there hiking the ball and throwing the ball and all of that? Or are they in the background, helping with the plays and helping the players kind of see the field better? Seth, does your team make more money when you're there or when you're not there?
Probably when I'm not there. I'm not there a lot. I work from home on Wednesdays. I mean, I was gone. I was in the shop 3 days 1 month. So right. I'm not here a lot. You know that.
I do. That's why I asked. That's why I made that comment. So
I think one of the key things is, and going back to the football analogy, if the players are trusting the coach to make the right calls, then everybody, if there's this, then they're gonna follow suit. They're gonna do what needs to happen. But really, if there's trust going from the front to the back office and vice versa, then everybody's gonna know that they've got to do their job, or again, the systems and processes aren't being followed. The trust is going to get lost. If this technician is going to estimate and find, and actually estimate out all the jobs that need to be done, and the service writer doesn't actually build them up and try to sell them, then nobody's going to build up their estimates. And so there's no trust. At the same time, if the service writer doesn't trust what the technician's saying, then they're not going to do their job. And so I think that is really key, is to have the right person at that front, the service advisor. I happen to have a service advisor and a CSR, and they both know what their jobs are. They both know what they're supposed to do. The techs know what's expected from them, and everything just flows.
So I often talk about this idea of trust, because when you have a business where there's really good trust, when somebody does something that seems a little out of the ordinary, so they break something goes wrong, and there's trust, and the other members of the team, they go, oh, I probably would have broken that too. Let's see what we can do to help them. There's not, when you don't have trust and something goes wrong, then everybody kind of goes, why did they do that? Why did they do that to me? Service advisor can't sell the job, doesn't sell the job. And the techs in the back are going, well, he can't, why won't he sell my work? Instead of, oh, this is a customer who's not going to buy. If the work could be sold, I know my service advisor could sell it, and vice versa. That trust and building that trust is so important. David Greenwood made a comment. I can't see all the comments, but he said that in many shops, tooling is an issue, especially where the burden falls to the tech. Who's responsible for the primary tooling of the business? Now, I know Seth would say that's me, the shop owner, because he's not only providing tools, but toolboxes too.
Well, I provide everything except basic hand tools, and I provide tools for apprentices. So ultimately the shop. Yeah.
And in order for me to buy those tools and create a good environment and have air conditioning and provide LED lighting and, all that stuff, education, what do I have to do in my business in order to provide those things?
Charge.
Succeed.
Yeah. I gotta make money in the business. In the old days when my dad started, they started with nothing. They didn't even have a battery charger. Their first job, they needed a battery charger. They had to make a deal with the local, parts store to get a battery charger and pay it off over 90 days or something like that. Today, though, if I'm going to make an investment in my people, I have to invest in equipment, in tools, and education. It's the only way we're going to succeed. I guess I'm preaching instead of asking you a question. Let's make a shift here because, we kind of promised and we got about 20 minutes left. What are you guys doing on the finding side? So, I know Kim has a few secrets. Kim, we'll get to you in a minute. But Alan, what are you doing to look for techs? What are the sources Is there anything unusual that you're doing that someone else might not be doing?
So maybe, but I mean, tool trucks stay networked with everyone everywhere that I can in the industry. I stay networked with people at the dealers. I stay networked with the tool trucks and let them, if there's ever a good tech that's on their route, I want to know about it if they're looking for work, you know what I mean? And I want to bring them to my place and at least interview them and have them, filed away. But, there's ZipRecruiter and Indeed and all of those things. But what I did that generated a little bit of some feedback, I got some feedback from, was I made a Facebook ad and I took a picture of the 2 bays where that tech would potentially be working, which are really nice bays. I have a nice looking, clean, organized shop. And I posted that ad on Facebook, and then I targeted the dealership area, because in my area, about a mile away, is what they call the auto mile. And every dealership you could think of is there. And I targeted it around those dealers. So techs are on lunch, or they're doing whatever on Facebook when they're supposed to be working, they're seeing my ad. And these could be your bay kind of thing, And that worked. That brought some people in.
We have Patrick in our group, and Patrick had an art show in his facility, which he got from Bogey. But when he had an art show, he had some techs come from some other shops, and they went out, the shop was open, and they went out in the shop, and after the guy looked at the shop, he basically said, "See that bay right there? That's going to be my bay," and asked for a job. And so one of the top techs happened because of an art show. Imagine that in a shop, which seems silly, but holy smokes, if I can get him in there and it looks good and it feels good, I think it's got to feel good. It just can't look good. Yeah. Seth, what secrets do you got? What are you doing in these good, besides getting them when they're born?
I get them when they're born, but also, I'm on the advisory committees at the colleges. I'm frankly hiring the best of the best graduates before they even get to the market. So no offense, but nobody has a chance to even get a resume from them, because I'm interviewing and hiring them before they graduate, because I've talked to the instructors. I sit on the college boards, and I'm talking and grabbing students before they graduate. So they're not even getting a chance to go out and see what's out there. The other thing we're doing is Facebook. Facebook has a new jobs posting that is great. I think I was showing you, Cecil, when we were out in Arizona, had over 100 applicants on it. And somebody said, well, it was for a front office job. And somebody said, well, they're not technical. So I created a technical ad, and I got 10 applicants on the technical ad. I created while we were sitting at lunch, for a different shop. That works. I do sign-on bonuses if I'm really looking for a tech. That seems to work well. My other secret is I do a lot with the local car clubs. Now, we know they're not the best customers. However, all the technicians are part of these car clubs. And we do these open houses and events, and they're coming in looking at my bays. And I've had guys go, well, what would it take to get me those 2 bays?
What do you tell a shop owner who says, I don't have the time to go to the local colleges and get involved, and I don't have the money to offer a $3,000 sign-on bonus to a technician? What do you say to somebody like that?
I don't think it takes that much time. I mean, I'm a really busy guy, and I still find time to go do those things.
Yeah, but you're not at the shop on Wednesdays, and last month you weren't there 3 days. So you were sitting at home eating cookies and watching Dancing with the Stars or something, right?
No, I was out traveling all over the country teaching and working, but at Wednesdays I do a lot of stuff that I need from home, catch-up stuff. But the meetings, usually the advisory committee meetings, are 6 to 10 o'clock at night. So you're going to have to go at night. You go to advisory meetings, and they're 6 to 10 o'clock. The sign-on bonus, it's not paid up front. It's $500 up front. It's $500 at 6 months, and it's the balance at 1 year. So if that employee's lasted 1 year, you better be able to save the balance in a year. Otherwise, you have many other problems in your business. Go talk to Cecil, because something else is way wrong.
Okay. Kim, tell us about your secrets. What are you doing to find these people and get them interested in coming to you?
There's one that wasn't mentioned. I've done Indeed, and I don't do Craigslist anymore. I wasn't getting the right pool from there. But I've done Indeed and so on. But IATN also has a careers page where there's resumes posted and such. But one tactic, is kind of a guerrilla tactic, is Facebook stalking. Basically, what I've done is I've gone to other shops' Facebook pages in the area that have a good reputation, solid reputation, and I'll spend. It takes a little bit of time to find out who their techs are. Either they've liked a post, or you've seen their wife likes a post that they posted about their, and then you kind of go back through and figure and start looking at these pages, and you see them in uniform, and bam, you got a technician right there. So you kind of Facebook stalk, and also and you can send them a private message. Now, the unfortunate thing is a lot of times those private messages go to their non-messenger inbox. However, they're there until they see them. So you may not get a response back right away, but maybe in 6 months they're cleaning out their non-messenger messages, and there you are. But I think, going that route, going to the dealerships, going and try to find who those technicians are, sending them a private message has been, I've actually got a lot of really good response that way. Also the job postings and such. But I think Facebook, and the other thing too is make sure if you have a job opening, post it on your own social media, because who's on those social medias? Your biggest fans. And if your biggest fans know somebody that they think that they should be with your, working at your shop, then they're going to refer them, because if they're their biggest fans, they're not going to give you a putz. I mean, they're not going to send a putz your way to, try to, see if they can get a job there too. So I think social media is probably the key right now for job posting, and I think it's probably the one thing that might be underutilized. Talking to these gentlemen, it sounds like it's getting around though, so that's great.
So I think we've talked about process and making them possible to be successful, but I think it comes down to, can the business and the business owner do the right things and create the right culture and have the money and the time to participate in some of this other stuff. Kim, where did you pick up on Facebook and some of those other things? I'm really not trying to lead you to consulting, but how did you come up with some of the stuff that you came up with? Did you just sit around all day and think of new things to try and attract somebody?
I got desperate. I had the Craigslist ad going. I had all these ads, and I just, one day I thought, where am I going to find another technician that at that particular point, where are we going to find another technician? Well, they're working. They're working at other shops. So, it was out of desperation, but it just made sense, because these, you get to go back. And the other thing too is I always check social media on any of my potential hires, because it's going to tell you a lot about that person as an employee. If they've got, every other picture, they've got their middle finger up and a beer in their hand, then they're working for the weekend, and rather than working for, to provide for a family and so on. And, and I love it when I see a young man or a family man, and you can see that they have a passion for cars, they have a passion for their family, they have a passion for, life and enjoying life and having fun. But, if there's a bunch of semantic stuff or political stuff, and you just kind of know, so if you're out there looking for a job, make sure that your social media represents who you want to be. But that's part of my pre-qualifying packages. I will stalk the social media, but it came out of desperation, and it just once I started utilizing it, just made sense that's where we are right now. That's where we are in technology these days. And if they're out there working, they're there to be found. And if they're the young millennials, they're to be found. So I hope I answered that question, but I was desperate.
I think you did pretty well. Alan, when are you recruiting? How often are you recruiting? Do you stop recruiting? When are you recruiting?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was thinking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this advice from you, and I never stop recruiting. Even if the days are slow, if the shop is slow, I'm still recruiting because I always want to know who the next person is and kind of have them in my back pocket ready to call. Right now, there's a guy working at a shop across town that is just a general repair shop. We're a German repair shop, and he's a Eurotech, and he wanted to come work for me. And I wasn't ready for someone yet, but he had to leave his last position. So he's working across town, waiting for me to grow a little more and get busier to come work for me. And it's nice knowing that when the work's there, the tech will be there, no matter a phone call away. But I think that continually, I'm always recruiting and always looking for people and interviewing so that, we always have someone there when we need them, and we're not desperate and looking for one when we're in a pinch.
Okay. Seth, when are you recruiting?
I'm always recruiting. It's a constant thing. I'm talking to techs all the time. I'm still doing our open houses. I get a lot of techs in person with the car club stuff. I find a lot of the Eurotechs, especially, now it might not apply to general repair as much, but the Eurotechs hang out inside the MN BMW Facebook group, the MN Minnesota Volkswagen group. They all hang out there, and they come to the car event, and they see the shop, and they see everything about the shop, and like, oh, what's it going to take to get to those two bays? And that seems to be a great recruiting thing because you get them in your facility.
Imagine. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, and one thing to remember too is once you get those resumes and once you get those applications, keep them, because just because they weren't the right fit for you at the time that they first interviewed doesn't mean that they're not the right fit now. So I have a whole computer file of all the resumes, and I write, what their appearance was, what their disc, what their perceived disc was at for their first interview, strengths and weaknesses that they gave me. I make notes, and so I can go back and go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, I remember why we didn't hire him, or I remember that guy. He would have been a great hire, but we weren't looking for that particular personality at that particular time. And so keep your old resumes and refer back to them, because you may be in a different place and they may be in a different place in their life.
I would say, I had a client in Oklahoma, and I went out to help him interview. Hadn't done a lot of interviewing, and I got out there that day, and I said, okay, who are we interviewing? I mean, I flew all the way from Utah there. I said, okay, who are we interviewing? We've been running ads for a couple of weeks. And he said, well, we got like 9 resumes, but, no one's worth interviewing. And I told him, I said, you can't hire someone if you're not interviewing. So I went through the pile. I found 3 potential people that we could have interviewed, should have interviewed. Should we be really, really picky on their resume? Or should we be a little more forgiving and bring some of these people in and have the interview? You don't know where that diamond in the rough might be that you could turn into a great employee. Alan, what do you think about that?
I agree. I mean, I was guilty of that at one point too. I was totally filtering the resumes as they came in, and I just, I had that discussion with you even, and then I decided, I'm going to go back and look again, and I wasn't finding anybody, so I called a bunch of people, had them come in, started interviewing them, and actually I ended up hiring one guy. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for the long term, but I ended up hiring a guy, and he sufficed and got me through this past summer when we were pretty busy, and but I had to let him go for other reasons. But I mean, it worked. I went back and just kind of gave him a second chance, brought him in, talked to them, meet them face to face, and got a much different impression of that person than I did, just reading what they had to put in a resume online.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think we need to be somewhat picky about, if the guy's got a felony or whatever, maybe we don't want to interview, but, I can't hire people if I'm not interviewing, and I can't interview if I'm not bringing people in, and I won't get people unless I'm running ads or doing something, Facebook stalking, running Facebook ads, getting on link on some of the places you guys mentioned, which names are slipping through my head right now. Imagine this. Imagine that you build a shop where there's a great culture and there's a nice work environment, 2 nice bays where a technician could work, and you bring them in and you got people actually fighting over, you know, can I come to work here? Seth, what do you think about that? I mean, do we owe it to our staff or potential staff to create this good environment for them?
Oh yeah, I think we do for even the current staff that's there. And if the current staff's happy, one of my guys that came from another place, we were looking for a tech, and I said, hey, any of you guys in the shop know another tech? And one of the guys like, yeah, I know a great guy. He's leaving the same dealership because the dealership's closing down. Like, they're literally shutting down. And we grabbed him pretty quick.
Okay. All right. We're going to give you, we're coming towards the end. Got about 4 minutes left. We're going to give you each about 60 seconds. We will start with Seth. Words of advice for those out there that are looking for technicians.
Soap, lots of soap. Clean the facilities up, make it shine, make it pretty. I mean, most of these places are dirty. Soap, equipment, and tools. That's what the good guys are looking for. And benefits. I've had a lot of arguments with shop owners. Benefits, benefits, benefits. The techs are looking for them.
Does the bathroom that the tech's going to use, does it need to be as nice as your customer bathroom? Yes or no?
Yes, I believe so. You can't put them in a dungeon of a bathroom, but
I think it matters. It blows my mind sometimes that we're bringing people into this environment where the good guys just, I don't think a good organized, structured person could even think about working in. Alan, what's your advice to the people online?
Well, I agree with Seth 100%. Keep it clean, clean the place up, and the benefits make an appealing package. But I think I would say don't give up. You know, don't give up and be persistent. You know, if you were creating like 2 ads and you're getting a couple of people, and you're having like a shortage of interviews, go out there and do 40 ads and make sure you get in like 20 more applicants and interview them, bring them in and give them a chance, you know, and then go back to the ones that you have disregarded in the past, or maybe you liked in the past, and then just pull them back out of the file and call them again, like Tim was saying. But I would say just don't give up, be persistent, and it's about odds, really. If you interview 10 people a week, you're less likely to find someone that, you know, you're interviewing 60 people a week, you know?
Okay. I always talk about dating as this analogy. When I was younger, before I got married, if I asked one gal on a date that week, I probably wasn't going on a date. But if I asked 100, I'm pretty sure I had 2 or 3 dates lined up, right? You know,
right? Exactly.
And
exactly.
And I think hiring's the same thing. But I think we've got to have that facility, the tools. We've got to be talking about our culture and creating enthusiasm. We have to be enthusiastic about our businesses when we interview these people, if we want them to be enthusiastic about coming to work for us. All right, Kim, you get the last of it, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think going back to my comment at the very beginning is creating that good culture, the reputation, the image of the industry as a whole. I think the longer we all keep our doors open with those key things, I think we're going to have more technician availability. That's sad to say because it's at somebody else's loss. But on the forefront now is really just, again, I love what Alan said, don't give up. It is frustrating when you get desperate, that's when I got most creative, I think. But the key is really just take care of your employees you have now. That's the first thing. I think the biggest part of technician shortage is it's an internal issue. If you can't keep your own employees, if you're there's a constant turnover, then you need to look inward. You want your current techs and front staff to want to be lifers, and if something happens and they have to go somewhere else, then or if they have to do something else, then it's not because of you. And I always love when I have an employee that leaves and there are tears. That means that they were a great employee and they're doing something different for their family. So when you have that kind of a culture, people will want to come work for you. And I love what Cecil said, be enthusiastic. I've been in the industry far less time than my husband is, but I never, in all my careers of real estate property management, never had an industry that I cared more about and was more passionate about, because I think that is something that just, we need to have that passion and that excitement about the industry again, and then the techs will come.
All right, we're at that time. We're gonna have to wrap it up. I want to thank all of you, Alan, Kim, and Seth, for attending. I think it was a great hour, and we thank you for your wisdom and your willingness to share. And for the rest of you out there, please look forward to more podcasts. Every 2 weeks, we will have a podcast on one of the hot topics. Thank you very much, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you all. Merry Christmas.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.